Hello, welcome to the first year MCA course of Guru Nanak Institute of Technology, Kolkata. I'm Dr. Indrajit Bose and I shall be your course coordinator for this session. This paper is entitled Business English and Communication with a paper code of HU101. In the course of this paper, we are taking a look at the various forms and modes of workplace interactions and the different types of documents, business documents, which are available at the workplace. So how to format these documents, how to use a specific vocabulary, style, or expression in formatting them, and how to develop needs-based communication for interacting with clients, customers, and other people, colleagues in the workplace on a daily basis. This is what we are looking at in the course of our lectures on business English. Now, today's lecture deals with one important aspect of spoken English, or you can say that spoken interactions at the workplace, which is that of giving presentations before an audience. Today's lecture is lecture 2 in the series, and it is entitled Presenting Using Multimedia. So we should take a look at what is involved in the giving of presentations with technical aids. So first we shall begin by looking at what are technical aids and how we can use them. Then we take a look at different types of technical aids, projectors, flip charts, whiteboards, and audio and video inputs so that we can create presentations with impact. Now, to put it very simply, your presentation or a professional presentation involves an interaction or a continuous engagement between the presenter and the audience. So if you are the presenter, you have to maintain a balanced interaction and engagement with your audience. You have to build up the rapport or interest of the audience with your talk or with the subject of your presentation, and you have to hold that interest till the very end. Now, a presentation can be something like an ordinary class in an ordinary classroom, which does not have any technical aids, so it is mainly chalk and talk, or it is only chalk and talk. So there is nothing by way of technical aids, there is nothing extraordinary, and there is no additional support that we are getting from technology in developing this kind of a talk. So a presentation can be like that, but that is extremely colorless. So we add various things in order to spice up the presentation or to make it more appealing or interesting. Also, we can add things to make it more easier to understand or to make it more lucid or understandable, approachable by the audience. So the technical aids that we use in giving presentations are mostly by way of elaborations, additions, and amplifications, we can say, or rather illustrations to the talks that we are giving. So in creating impactful presentations does not mean simply talking to the audience, but it means that we have built up interesting slides or created support, or we have illustrated samples to share with the audience, which makes it inherently something interesting. So there is a kind of an art. The presenter's art lies not just in the impressive vocal delivery or the power of words that he or she is using before the audience, but also the way in which the presenter is building up the slides, the designing of the slides, the creation of content for the presentation with the help of slides and other technical aids. So this is something that we are going to take a look at in the course of this presentation. Now, what exactly are these technical aids? Now, technology, especially in the 21st century, the digital age at which we are now, can be used in various ways to enhance an audiovisual experience, to make a live presentation more interesting, to make it more interactive, and for the visual highlighting of points or the text of the presentation. Also, by way of showing us different pictures or images, visual images, moving images or films, footage, also various things like graphs, charts, and maps for conceptual clarity, and also using all these illustrations to keep the audience continuously informed about what is happening and to keep them on track and to sustain the interest, what I was talking about, which you must hold on from the beginning till the end to avoid the audience getting bored. Because any presentation which has the audience getting bored, well, that stands a fair chance of being extremely critically grilled by the members of the audience in the Q&A session. So if you find that your audience is getting bored, that is the danger sign. You have to do something to spice up or to enliven your presentation. Now, technology can be used in various ways in order to enhance the experience of the presentation. So, how it may be used, this is what we are going to take a look at. Now, what is important about the usage of technology is that if you are using digital media at all, or if you are using multimedia at all in creating your presentation or in creating the slides rather, then it is important that you choose what kind of technology you are going to use and make yourself conversant with its operations and that you familiarize yourself with this technology beforehand. Also, it is important that you select this technical aid before you give the presentation. In fact, you select it at the preparation stage. Also, you should incorporate it into the body of the presentation. If you are comfortable with chalk and talk or with jotting down of points on the flip charts or sheets of paper or writing down on the board, the whiteboard with the marker, then you stick to that. Obviously, you will be preparing this in advance. So you can write down the points on the whiteboard or you write down certain basic points over there before you start the presentation, and then when you give the presentation you write something more and you rub out and you write more as you go along. You can also use something like an IWB or the interactive whiteboard or the smart board, which is an extremely useful device for your presentations. In this IWB, you can use digital media like PowerPoint presentations, and you can operate that with finger touch, and you can also write on it uh, like an ordinary board. So again, that is useful if you are writing down something. You need to write down something by way of comments or explanations, or you need to write a phrase down here and there, and you are operating your slides at the same time. So you can use the IWB or the smart board for elucidation of points to the audience. Now, the timing again is very important. Remember that you are using technology. So you cannot fool around with technology and things operate on time over there. So there is a synchronization that needs to be taking place, or you have to arrange for that. That is, your narration or your speaking before the audience has to synchronize with the time taken by the changing of the slides, or you can say the operation of the digital technology or the media. So these two things should be balanced in a proper way. Otherwise, they will go all out of hand, and the whole presentation will go all right. Also, you need to study the audience's comfort level. There may be some audiences which prefer the use of technology, and they are conversant also with digital media, so they would in fact like you to use more and more of digital media in your presentation. On the other hand, there may be an audience which is not comfortable with the use of digital media and doesn't want you to use innovative technology in giving the presentation. So they are more comfortable with traditional modes like flip chart or chalk and talk or whiteboard, only whiteboard, not the smartboard. So for them, you suit your presentation to the audience's preferences. And whenever you are using technical aids or digital aids, even if you are using them, make them user friendly and adapt them to your audience's level and to their understanding levels. Also, use them in various combinations. If you are using the smartboard, you can combine the smartboard with a bit of writing on an ordinary board or an ordinary whiteboard, or writing something on a flip chart, or an activity involving uh, exchanges of pieces of paper or any other kind of traditional methods. So you can combine the traditional and innovatively modern methods of the 21st century using digital media in various ways to make your presentation more interesting and engaging to the members of the audience. Now, some of the most traditional of these aids have been the handouts or paper handouts. Now, extra details of presentations can be incorporated over there. So if you have extra materials which you are not able to accommodate in your presentation slides, or if you have some extra information or maybe a point or two which you could not include in your presentation for length's sake, then you can easily share that with your audience. Or if you have maybe some diagrams or illustrations which you want to share, then you can share them with the audience. Now, don't give them around too early, because your audience's attention will tend to will tend to focus more on these handouts rather than on your talk and your presentation. So uh, you might distribute them in the middle of your presentation by way of illustration, or you may distribute them at the end when you have just finished your presentation as a kind of a support or elucidation. Uh, Often it is interesting not to give them the complete data, but to do a kind of gap fill by giving them incomplete data and asking them to fill in the remaining details by asking them questions, uh, asking them to do various activities like a show of hands, or inviting them to contribute to filling of statements, and so on. A flip chart is again another traditional mode of adding an illustration to a presentation. So basically it involves sheets of chart paper which are clipped to a board like an artist's board or easel, which is placed on a stand, and it's a useful and flexible way of recording information. Now, it is better to prepare all this in advance and keep one or two main ideas per sheet. Don't crowd too many ideas together in one sheet. Now, again, we have to flip back in order to recap the main points. Also, we can put down diagrams or maps on these flip charts. Basically, it is convenient because we can write on them as we are giving the presentation, but obviously you cannot spend too much time writing, so a good bit of the flip chart material has to be chalked out or prepared in advance because you see, if you spend too much time writing, obviously you'll find it difficult to speak to your audience at the same time. So the things that you write on the flip chart should be written beforehand, and they should be clear and readable so that the audience, which is necessarily sitting at some distance away from your chart or your slides, is able to read and understand. Now, you can just simply turn over the pages of the flip chart in order to show them different points, okay, or move on from one point to another. We also have the whiteboard or the blackboard. Now, we have two things, as I have said already over here. One is the traditional whiteboard, where we can use that whiteboard in an interesting way for writing down points and examples, or even drawing pictures and diagrams. Now, again, it is useful to write down some points over here in advance before you begin the presentation. And then you can rub certain things out and add some more details as you go along. Now, they are useful in plotting down certain sequences of ideas and explaining them. You can write down each sequence on the board. You can even, because these whiteboards are pretty large, divide the area of the board into separate segments and write down points, separate points in different segments of these areas. Also, if you have complex terminology and references, then it is easier for you to write down, let us say, the pronunciation, or to give examples or illustrations on the board. Basically, they give the audience a bit of time to absorb the points, and there's visual highlighting of the points which you put up on the board. Also, you have to keep a check that the audience keeps pace with the rate of your progress. If your progress is too fast, your audience will not be able to keep pace with you. Or if it is too slow, the audience will again tend to get bored. So again, there should be a kind of balance in what you are saying and what you are writing over there on the board, or what is written already over there on the board. Now, the other type of board can be, as I have said, the IWB, or the smart board, or the digital whiteboard. Now, this has the additional advantage that it can project PowerPoint slides. So you may have the entire presentation in PowerPoint and project the slides by just finger touch mode on the board. And additionally, you can use it like an ordinary whiteboard and write down things over there with a marker pen. So they stand out because obviously there is this is illuminated board, so that makes it much more bright because there's light on the board. So it makes it much brighter because of the luminosity. Uh, it makes the writing on the board much brighter and easier to read and understand compared to the traditional board, particularly for students. If you have students in your audience or people whose eyesight is not so strong, then the digital whiteboard or the smart board can be a tremendous blessing because they will be able to make out much better compared to the traditional whiteboard what you have written over there. So a whiteboard or a digital smart board can be a tremendous aid in elucidating the presentation. Okay, let us now explore something more. Yes, adding audio or video. Now, one way of enhancing the audience's the experience, is to add audio content to your slides. Now, obviously, you can add diverse types of audio, like, for example, adding a small segment or a snippet from a talk or lecture, all by way of illustration, mind you. So I can add a snippet from a talk or from a lecture series. I can add a bit of narration or description, like, for example, of a place or of a person. Or I can even add an audio clip of a dialogue from a drama, or maybe a dialogue between different people. I can even add a song. So there are different types of audio files, often in the form of MP3 or MP4 files, which can be uploaded to the PowerPoint. Uploading is easy. You just have to go to Insert, and you have to then uh, click on the slide, the options for adding multimedia, and there you will find, yes, like for example over here you have the audio. So add audio from file, or clip art audio, or record audio. You can even record audio and add it over there, or you can add video by adding video from file, or adding video from some other source. So it is easy to upload the audio file to the presentation. Or what can also be done is that without uploading it, suppose you have one or two which you would like to focus on when you're giving the presentation or talk, you explain the slide content, then again minimize your slide, open the audio file and play that, then again come back once it is played back to the presentation. So it can be done in this way also. Often the audio that is added can be in the nature of background, like for example various nature sounds like rain falling, bees humming, birds chirping in the backdrop, or various noises of machinery, cars starting up, revving the engine, the ring of bicycle bells, or the bells of the tram car, or the siren of the factory wailing, or the whistle of the train. So various noises like this, noise of busy traffic on the roadway, hospital, the noises over there, at the airport, where we have a lot of din in the airport lounge, the tremendous din in the platform of a railway station, where we have trains arriving, going, a lot of announcements, people coming and going, hawkers selling their wares, the murmur of people's voices in the hotel lobby. All these can be added by way of background to the content of the slides. Suppose I have that kind of a content in my presentation, I can use this as a sort of elucidation or illustration of my content. So this is definitely a way of enriching the content of the presentation and then making it more attractive and meaningful to the audience. Various atmospherics can also be added. Now this illustrates the content if I add something meaningful, and we also get an impression about the background. It acts as a mood enhancer also, often in certain ways. Now, what is important to keep in mind is that the audio clip should not be too long. Preferably, an audio clip of around 13 seconds or around 20 seconds is optimum, or it should be less than a minute, or it should not be more than a minute in time. Because the longer your audio clip is, I think you can understand what problems you will face as a presenter. Yes, can you say what problems you will face? Yes, it's very evident. What will happen is that you will spend so much time showing that audio clip or displaying that audio clip. What will happen is that you will curtail the time for your presentation, and you will not be able to speak for quite some time because the slide is operating in this audio mode. So you are playing that audio. Your audience will tend to get restive, and they will have to bear with you till you again speak to them. So having the slide speaking as if by proxy instead of you speaking, that cannot serve the purpose. You can add illustrations and examples, but you have to speak yourself. So if it diminishes from your speaking time, then it's not good as far as your presentation delivery is concerned. So whatever audio clips you should choose, these clips should be short, preferably short. We can also add video clips. So nowadays, of course, there are a lot of videos which are available on YouTube, and you can make your own videos. So videos by way of background or music or atmospherics, speech content, a song, a movie clip, or a brief documentary. So these are all the things that can be added to the presentation, and let me tell you that it enhances the quality of a presentation tremendously to have a video clip added by way of illustration. So suppose I'm talking about the Eskimos and their lifestyle, and I'm able to show a very short video clip showing the Eskimo way of life for, let us say, 45 seconds. Now that is a tremendous fillip to my to the presentation that I'm giving, and it packs the punch, and it adds or enhances the quality of the presentation that much, or it builds up the audience's interest level that much if I'm able to do that. So adding a movie clip or adding a video clip or any other type of an audiovisual clip to the presentation is a tremendous achievement. It should not be minimized. So it tremendously enhances the meaningfulness and the relevance and the contextual relevance of your presentation. Now, adding the multimedia content or the video content is again not very difficult. So, using the same insert feature that I talked about when you were going to insert the audio slide, when I talked about that, that same feature can be used to add the video content to the slides. Uh, so, by way of PPT insertions, we can add the audiovisual content, but again, the time duration is a crucial factor. If I have too long a audiovisual file, or if I have a file which is too long, again the problem will be that the audience will get impatient or they might get frustrated. So you'll be losing your audience rather than gaining them if you use a video clip which is too long. Again, the editing of the video content is very important because quality is something that matters. So you have to edit your content in order to make your presence felt and to make the video that much more appropriate, meaningful, impactful, and powerful when the audience sees it. So remember that not only choosing the right content in terms of an audiovisual experience for giving the presentation is important beforehand, but that this content also has to fit within the time slot, and it also has to be edited properly using the proper video editing software, uh, which is often available in order to create an impactful and meaningful presentation. Let us now proceed further. Use of other artifacts and props. Now, in order to add extra interest or in order to make it more meaningful, we can also add various props. Like, for example, if we have a speaker who is talking about nuclear physics and is explaining the structure of atoms and molecules, then that speaker can use various models, okay, of the atoms and molecules and pass them around with his audience when he is speaking over there. So These replicas or models, real life models of atoms and molecules, can be brought for demonstration. Again, if the props are too large, then they may distract you from the actual presentation, but various kinds of objects which are associated with the contents of our presentation, obviously it has to be functional and appropriate. The appropriacy has to be uh, there. Otherwise, what is the point of bringing it into the presentation? It will be quite irrelevant, and it will act as a kind of a distraction for the members of the audience. So let's say that you're talking about hang gliding, and you have pictures of hang gliding, and you have, let us say, a model of a hang glider, which you can show your audience. So that will make it more interesting. Or if you're talking about cats, and you have photographs about cats, and you have a video of a real cat who is brought in order to highlight certain features. So again, that is going to make it interesting. Or if you have a real life example, small or minute objects. Again, if I have two small objects, let's say I'm talking about the properties of various metals, so I have quartz, pieces of quartz and mica. So I can show them, or I can put them on a plate or a dish and pass them around. But if I have a very large sized audience, each time I show them something like that and pass it around, it will take time. So there will be a kind of gap created in your audience between those who want to listen to the presentation and get along with it, and the other part of the audience who are not so interested in listening to you, but they want to spend time looking at the interesting bits of realia which are there in your presentation. So you will find that you are passing things around, so they will focus more on the passing of the things around, and they will focus less on your talk. And you will find it difficult to bring back the audience to your talk once they get all disturbed by the passing round of these objects or area. Again, if it is too large, then it cannot be passed around, but it can be displayed in front of the audience from the podium or the stage where you are speaking from, or they can be displayed from a distance, or you can even give a scanned copy and show it to the audience. So don't spend too much time passing around these things, and the time for viewing them should be incorporated within the total time that you take to make or to give the presentation. So don't take too much time. Incorporate the time that you spend on these artifacts or props within your presentation delivery time, and include things which are intrinsically interesting and will build up the credibility and the interest in your presentation when you are giving it. Now, finally, certain things need to be said which are very important. If you are using multimedia aids or technical aids, then please be conversant with using them. For example, if you cannot use the interactive smartboard, then suddenly one day when you're giving the presentation, you try to use it, you will not be able to use it. You need to use it beforehand. You need to be aware of the technicalities of the various gadgets and devices which you are operating, so that you can operate them on your own. So you have to learn how to operate yourselves. You have to be self-sufficient and self-dependent as far as possible. In case something fails on the day of the presentation, then you need to keep technical support or backups ready or handy. So if plan A fails, there needs to be plan B in place. If plan B fails, then plan C needs to be in place. Always, also, technology is continuously upgrading. Technology is constantly improving. First, we had third generation mobiles. Now we have fourth or fifth or seventh generation mobiles. The technology is constantly upgrading and constantly developing itself. So you also need to upgrade yourself, keeping pace with the changing technology. And you need to make good use of technological aids so that they really build up to the interest and the meaningfulness of your presentation. Technological aids should not be just for the sake of using technology and with no proper relevance to the main body or subject of your presentation. So it should not be something like that, because in that case, it is really a waste of digital resources or a waste of technology. So don't do that. Try to uh, research or try to improve upon your handling of technological tools so that you are able to upgrade yourself as well. You keep yourself updated and you can use the new and emerging technology in new and interesting ways as you develop them as illustrations in the course of your presentation. And we can say that finally you make your presentations come alive with the help of technology. So use multimedia aids, digital aids to illustrate and give examples, to add audio or video content, to add live content to your presentation, and make your presentations come alive, vibrantly alive. So I hope I've been able to explain the various uses of technological aids and multimedia aids in enhancing the quality of the presentation. Your use of these technological aids will certainly add impact to the presentation which you will deliver, and I wish you all the best in creating meaningful professional presentations. So with that, I would like to end this lecture. Bye for now. We'll see you again later.